My finger hung over the delete button. One click was all it would take to wipe out 3 years of work. Work that kept this entire company alive, work they assumed belonged to them, work they figured they could squeeze while slashing my pay in half. The cursor blinked, waiting. Delete? Yes or no? Clicked yes. A confirmation box popped up. Are you absolutely certain this action cannot be undone? My hand didn't waver. Not even slightly. I clicked confirm. The screen flickered black for a second. Then the collapse began. Error messages started flooding my personal monitoring dashboard. Server connections dropping one after another. Database queries timing out. The whole infrastructure crumbling like a stack of cards. Because there was one detail my boss never bothered to verify before his little cost-cutting speech. The private server code running everything wasn't registered to the company at all. It was registered to me under my own personal developer license. And I had just hit delete. Before I get into how I ended up here, let me pause for a second. If you're into stories about people standing their ground at work, subscribing genuinely helps this channel grow. We just hit our first big milestone and now we're aiming for 2,000 subscribers. Thanks for being here, now let's get into it. My name is Natalie Chan, and until 48 hours ago, I was the senior systems architect at TechBridge Solutions, a mid-sized software company based in Austin, Texas. People hear senior systems architect and picture someone who mostly sits in meetings delegating work. I built things. Real infrastructure, the kind that doesn't crash at 2 in the morning, the kind that scales when your user base triples overnight, the kind that saves companies from bleeding money on downtime. My parents came to this country from Taiwan with 2 suitcases and a promise to themselves that their kids would never carry the worries they had. My dad cooked on a line for 15 years before finally opening his own small restaurant. My mom scrubbed houses during the day and studied for her nursing license at night. They taught me something that stuck. Work ethic matters, but so does knowing what you're worth. I graduated at the top of my class from UT Austin with a computer science degree, not because it came naturally, but because I earned it. Long nights in the lab, surviving on instant ramen and black coffee, teaching myself languages the curriculum hadn't caught up to yet. I knew what it meant to build something out of nothing, to struggle for it. Maybe that's why I always treated my team with respect, why I never lost sight of the fact that every employee ID belonged to a real person with bills and a family depending on them. That empathy made me a decent leader. It also made me a target for people who mistook kindness for weakness, people like my boss, Christopher Brennan. 3 years earlier, TechBridge Solutions was hemorrhaging cash. Their infrastructure was a disaster, servers crashing weekly, gaping security holes in customer data, API responses so sluggish clients were fleeing to competitors. 6 months from bankruptcy. That's when they hired me. The interview was blunt. The CTO back then, an older man named Frank Hutchinson, laid it out plainly. We're in trouble. We need someone who can rebuild our entire backend from scratch, and we need it in 6 months. Can you do it? I studied their architecture diagram, a patchwork of band-aid fixes and outdated frameworks. But underneath the mess, I could see the bones of something worth saving. I can do it in 4 months, I told him. But I need full autonomy, a dedicated team and access to whatever resources I need without waiting on budget committee approvals. Frank smiled. Get us stable and you'll have whatever you want. I delivered in 3.5 months. I didn't patch their systems, I rebuilt everything. New server architecture, custom middleware, proprietary code stitching their legacy systems into modern cloud infrastructure. 16-hour days. Weekends, holidays. My team and I built something genuinely good, efficient, reliable, something that actually held up. Within 6 months of launch, customer complaints fell 87%. Server uptime hit 99.97%. Response times improved by 340%. The company stopped losing clients and started gaining them. Within a year, TechBridge turned its first profit in 5 years. Within 2, revenue had doubled. And I got a nicer title, a decent bump in pay, and a pat on the back. Here's the part nobody warns you about after you save a company. The moment you stop being essential to its survival, you start looking like an expense. Frank retired 18 months ago. A good man who kept his word and treated people fairly. His replacement, Christopher Brennan, came over from a bigger tech firm out east with a reputation as a growth strategist and efficiency expert. Translation: he cut costs and squeezed margins. Christopher's first all-hands meeting set the tone. We're entering a phase of aggressive expansion. That means maximizing every dollar, optimizing every resource, and making sure every team member delivers measurable ROI. Return on investment. As though the people who'd built this company were just line items on a spreadsheet. Over the following year, Christopher made his changes. The free lunch program gone. Professional development budgets gutted. Annual bonuses restructured into a performance-based system so vague only his favorites ever qualified. My team shrank from 8 people to 5 through what he called strategic reorganization. The workload didn't shrink with it, we just had fewer hands doing more work. We managed though because the infrastructure I'd built was solid. It didn't need constant firefighting. We could keep it running smoothly even understaffed. That efficiency, as it turned out, was about to become my biggest problem. 2 weeks ago, Christopher called me into his office. No warning, no agenda beforehand, just a 4 p.m. Friday meeting titled Compensation Discussion. I should have known right then. His office was all glass walls and minimalist furniture, the kind of room built to make you feel small. Christopher sat behind his desk, fingers steepled, wearing that rehearsed smile that never touched his eyes. "Natalie, thanks for making time. Sit, please," he said. "I'll get right to it. As you know, we're investing heavily in expansion, new markets, new products, new opportunities. That takes capital, and we have to be smart about resource allocation." Resource allocation? Not people. Resources. "We're adjusting compensation across the technical teams. Your salary is being cut by 50% starting next pay period." The words landed like ice water. "I'm sorry, what?" 50%. Temporary, of course. Once we've recouped the investment in the new server expansion, we'll revisit compensation. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're cutting my salary in half? After I rebuilt your entire system? After I saved this company?" His smile never wavered. "Natalie, that was years ago. The question isn't what you did. It's what you're currently contributing to justify your compensation level. The system runs smoothly now. Maintenance doesn't require a senior-level salary. The system runs smoothly because I built it to run smoothly. That was the whole point." "Exactly. You've automated yourself into a less critical role. Consider this a chance to prove your ongoing value." My mind was spinning. 50%. That wasn't a pay cut, that was financial ruin. My apartment, my car, everything I'd worked for. "And if I don't accept this?" His expression hardened just slightly. "Then we'd be looking at a separation package, which, given the current market for technical roles, might not be your best option, but that's your call." There it was. Take the cut or get fired. After 3 years of loyalty, 60-hour weeks, building them a system that printed money. "I need to think about it," I managed. "Of course. Take the weekend." "But, Natalie," he leaned forward. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. The decision's already been made at the executive level. We're funding the new servers and that money has to come from somewhere. This is happening." I left his office in a fog. Funding new servers with my salary. For infrastructure I built. That they couldn't even run without me. Or could they? That question haunted me the entire weekend. Could they actually keep the system running without me? My team could handle the day-to-day maintenance, sure, but the core architecture, the proprietary code holding everything together, that was mine. Sunday night, unable to sleep, I did what I always do when sleep won't come. I started going through code. And that's when it hit me. The private server architecture running the company's entire backend wasn't registered to TechBridge Solutions at all. It was registered under my own personal developer license. Here's the explanation. When I built the new infrastructure, I combined open-source frameworks with custom code. But the critical piece, the middleware tying everything together, the proprietary algorithms making it all run seamlessly, I developed partly on my own time with my own equipment before I even joined the company. Legally, technically, that code was mine. I'd given TechBridge an informal license to use it. We never bothered formalizing the IP transfer because Frank trusted me, and I trusted the company. That's just how we operated, handshake deals, mutual respect. Christopher had no idea any of this was true. He just saw a working system and assumed the company owned all of it outright. Even the server instances themselves were registered under my personal cloud provider account, with TechBridge listed only as a billing client, Another informal arrangement. Frank and I set up to skip the company's bureaucratic procurement process, which would have delayed the whole rollout by months. I'd built them a castle, but I still held the keys. Monday morning I called a lawyer. A good one, specializing in intellectual property and employment law. I laid out the situation. Do I own this code or not? She reviewed my employment contract, the development timeline, the registration paperwork. 3 hours later she called back. It's absolutely yours. Your contract has a standard IP clause, but this code predates your employment and was developed partly with your own resources. You granted them usage rights, but ownership never transferred. Technically, you could revoke that license. What happens if I do? Their entire system collapses and they'd have no legal recourse. As long as you give reasonable notice and aren't violating any contracts. Which you're not. Tuesday morning I asked Christopher for a meeting, just the two of us. He made me wait 20 minutes, an obvious power play. When I finally walked in, he didn't even look up from his laptop. Natalie, have you decided about the compensation adjustment? I have a few questions first. He sighed like I was wasting his time. The new servers you're funding with my salary, what are they actually for? Expansion capacity. We're projecting 60% user growth over the next 18 months. We need the infrastructure to support it. And this new infrastructure integrates with the system I built? Obviously. Why does that matter? Because I want to understand exactly what I'm funding with my pay cut. Who's handling the integration? We've brought in an outside firm, Tech Dynamics. They specialize in scalable solutions. Of course they had. Probably paying the consultants triple my salary while cutting mine in half. And you've confirmed the integration is actually possible with the existing architecture? Christopher's jaw tightened. Natalie, I don't owe you a justification for our technical decisions. Your job is maintenance, not strategy. Are you accepting the adjustment or not? This was the moment. No, Christopher, I'm not accepting it. In fact, I'm resigning. Effective immediately. 2 weeks. Notice per my contract, but I've got accrued vacation time to burn, so today's actually my last day. For the first time, surprise flickered across his face. You're quitting. I'm quitting. And as part of my departure, I'm revoking TechBridge's license to use my proprietary server code. The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? I pulled out the folder my lawyer had prepared, registration documents, development logs, IP ownership records, and set it on his desk. The core infrastructure code running your entire backend? I own it. It was built before I joined this company on my own time with my own resources. I gave you informal usage rights, but ownership never transferred. I'm revoking those rights, effective 72 hours from now. Christopher grabbed the papers, scanning frantically. I watched the realization land in stages: confusion, disbelief, panic. You can't do this. This is corporate sabotage. It's intellectual property law. I'm entirely within my rights. My lawyers already confirmed it. We'll sue you into the ground. You're welcome to try. My lawyer's confident you'd lose. But even if you eventually won, what happens to your company in the meantime? When the servers go dark because they can't run without my code, when clients bail because your system's down, when your expansion plans collapse because you can't integrate new infrastructure with code you don't own. His face went crimson. You destroy this company after everything we've done for you? That actually made me laugh. Everything you've done for me? Christopher, I saved this company. I built your infrastructure from nothing. I made you profitable. And you thanked me by cutting my salary in half to fund servers I'll never see the benefit of. You made this decision. I'm just responding to it. Name your price. What do you want? Full salary restored? A raise? Equity. Now we were negotiating. But that ship had sailed. It's not about price anymore, Christopher. It's about respect. You treated me like a disposable resource instead of the person who built everything you have. You can't buy your way out of that. So this is revenge? You're going to tank the whole company because your feelings got hurt. No. This is me asserting my rights over my own intellectual property. What happens to the company after that is on you. You made a business decision without understanding the technical dependencies. That's bad leadership. Not my problem. Christopher stood, practically vibrating with rage. Get out. You're fired. Security will escort you out. I already quit. But sure, call security. Doesn't change anything. 72 hours, Christopher. Then the license expires and the code stops working. Good luck with that. I walked out of his office with my chin up. Security did walk me to my desk. Two visibly confused guards who clearly had no idea what was actually happening. I packed my personal things into a box. Photos, my favorite mug, a few books. My team watched in stunned silence. Jennifer, my second-in-command, came over carefully. Natalie, what's going on? I couldn't tell her everything, not yet. Christopher and I disagreed about the direction of the department. I'm moving on. But the system? You'll be fine as long as they treat the people who maintain it with some respect. Take care of yourself, Jen. Don't let them exploit you the way they tried to exploit me. I left the building for the last time at 11:37 a.m. on a Tuesday. Then I waited. 72 hours sounds like a long time until it isn't. I knew exactly what was unfolding inside TechBridge without ever setting foot back in the building, because I'd built the system myself. Every dependency, every failure point, every critical piece. Hour 1. Christopher calls an emergency meeting with the technical team, demanding they figure out how to extract or replicate my code. Hour 6. The team reports back that it's impossible in this time frame. The code is too integrated, too dense. Hour 12. Christopher calls in the tech Dynamics consultants who confirm exactly what the internal team already said. You can't replicate 3 years of custom development in 3 days. Hour 24. The lawyers get involved, review the documents, probably call my lawyer, and get the same answer I already had. Ownership is clear. Hour 48. Panic sets in. They try reaching me with offers. I don't answer. Hour 71. They probably try negotiating, threatening, pleading. Hour 72. The license expires. I was sitting in a coffee shop when it happened, laptop open, watching the server instances through my personal admin dashboard. Access they had no idea I still had. 11:37 a.m. Exactly 72 hours after I walked out. The license verification check failed. The system tried to reauthorize. Failed again. Failsafe protocols kicked in. One by one, the services shut down, API gateways first, then database connections, then the middleware layer, then everything. The entire infrastructure went dark. I closed my laptop and sipped my coffee. Those 72 hours were the longest of my life, even though I looked calm on the outside. That first night I barely slept. Not from guilt, from adrenaline. I kept replaying Christopher's face the moment those documents hit his desk, the exact instant he realized how badly he'd miscalculated. But doubt crept in around 3 a.m. What if I was wrong about the legality? What if they found some loophole? What if this blew up and torched my career instead? I called my lawyer again the next morning. Are we absolutely sure about this? Her answer was firm. Natalie, I've practiced IP law for 17 years. This is about as clean a case of ownership as I've ever seen. You developed the core code before employment. You kept separate registration. You never signed transfer documents. They have no claim. None. That helped, though the anxiety never fully lifted. I spent those 3 days thinking about everyone caught in the middle. Clients experiencing downtime, customer service reps fielding angry calls, my old team scrambling to fix something they couldn't possibly fix. Part of me felt guilty. Good people caught in the crossfire of my fight with Christopher. But then I remembered something my father once told me. He'd had a business partner years back who tried to cheat him out of the restaurant they'd built together. My dad fought it legally, won, but the restaurant closed down during the battle. Sometimes, he told me, standing up for yourself hurts everyone in the short run. But if you don't stand up, the damage never stops. You teach people they can walk over you and they will. Every single time. That memory settled me. This was never about revenge. It was about a line drawn. My phone started ringing within 5 minutes. Christopher's number. I declined. It rang again. Declined. A third time. Declined. Then came the text. Natalie, we need to talk. This is affecting hundreds of clients. You're destroying people's livelihoods. Name your price. I turned my phone off. The next day, my lawyer reached me on my personal line. A number TechBridge never had. They want to negotiate. They're offering full ownership transfer of the code to the company in exchange for $1.2 million and a full liability waiver. 1.2 million. Probably a fraction of what the company stood to lose in client contracts if they stayed dark much longer. Counteroffer, I said. 2 million, full liability waiver, and a written recommendation letter acknowledging my role in building their infrastructure. Also, my entire team gets 20% raises, effective immediately, or there's no deal. That's generous of you, including your team. They're good people. They deserve better. Make it part of the deal. My lawyer called back 3 hours later. They accepted. All of it. 2 days later, I signed the paperwork in my lawyer's office. Code ownership transferred fully to TechBridge Solutions. The money landed in my account minus fees and taxes, still enough to change my life. The recommendation letter arrived by email, surprisingly sincere in its praise. And I reactivated the license remotely. The system came back online. The story could end there. Good person wins, bad boss loses. Everyone learns something about respecting employees. But there's an epilogue. 3 weeks after the settlement, I got a message on LinkedIn from Jennifer. Christopher got fired. The board blamed him for the whole disaster, the pay cuts, the system going dark, the emergency settlement. Frank came out of retirement temporarily to stabilize things. And Natalie, he wants to talk to you. I called Frank that afternoon. Natalie Chun. The woman who brought a company to its knees with a delete button. Just protecting my intellectual property, Frank. He laughed. Christopher was an idiot. The board hired him because he had impressive credentials and promised aggressive growth. Turns out aggressive growth means nothing if your infrastructure architect quits and takes the infrastructure with her. Sorry about the chaos. Don't be. You needed the wake-up call. We'd all forgotten something important. Companies aren't built on efficiency metrics and cost-cutting. They're built on people. Good people who feel valued and respected. A pause. We're looking for a new CTO. Someone who understands the technical side and the people side. Someone who knows how to build things that last. Interested. I thought about it, going back to the place that had treated me so poorly. But with Christopher gone, with Frank's values restored, with real authority to make changes. What's the salary? Double what you were making before, plus equity, plus full autonomy over technical decisions and hiring, plus a guarantee we formalize every IP agreement properly this time so this never happens again. And my old team? Already got their raises per the settlement. But you'd have the authority to hire more, pay competitively, build the department the right way. I took the job. Not because I needed it. The settlement meant I could have taken a year off, started my own company, done anything I wanted. I took it because the company Frank built, the one I'd already saved once, deserved better than Christopher's scorched earth style of leadership. And my team, Jennifer and the others who'd stayed loyal through all the chaos, deserved a leader who actually understood their worth. My first day back felt surreal, walking into the building I'd been escorted out of weeks earlier, but this time carrying a CTO title and the power to actually change things. My first move was a company-wide meeting. Some of you know me. Some of you know what happened with my departure and my return. I'm not going to rehash the details. What I will say is this: things are changing. We're bringing back the professional development budgets. We're implementing transparent, fair performance reviews. We're paying competitively so our people don't feel exploited. And we're remembering that behind every employee ID is a person who deserves respect. The applause was genuine. My second move was meeting with the tech dynamics consultants Christopher had hired, going through their expansion plans. They were solid, clearly competent people who knew their work. This is good work, I told them. Let's collaborate on the integration instead of replacing what's already here. Build on the foundation instead of starting from zero. They looked relieved. Apparently Christopher had been a nightmare client for them too. Over the following 6 months, we integrated the new infrastructure, expanded capacity, and boosted system performance by another 40%. Client satisfaction hit an all-time high. Revenue kept climbing. But more importantly, employee satisfaction improved. Turnover dropped. People stopped glancing over their shoulders, bracing for the next round of cuts. 3 months into my role as CTO, something happened that reminded me exactly why I'd come back. A junior developer named Kevin caught me after a team meeting, young, maybe 24, brilliant with database optimization but visibly nervous. "Can I talk to you privately?" We went to my office. He sat down, wringing his hands. I got a job offer. Another company. It's a 25% raise. My stomach dropped. I'd only just started rebuilding the culture. Losing good people now would set us back. But I don't want to leave, he went on. I like the team. I like the work. Under Christopher, I'd have just taken the offer, because I knew the company didn't care whether I stayed. But you've changed things. So I wanted to ask, is there any way to match it? This was exactly why I'd come back. I pulled up Kevin's compensation in our system. He was underpaid for his skill level, a leftover from Christopher's tenure. I'll do you one better, I said. I'll match the offer, plus another 10%. And I'm putting you on the architect track with a clear promotion timeline. You're too talented to stay junior level. The relief on his face was worth everything. Really? Really? But Kevin, going forward, you don't need another job offer to negotiate. If you ever feel undervalued, come talk to me. That's what I'm here for. He left my office practically floating. And he stayed. Not just stayed, he thrived. 6 months later, he led the database redesign that improved query performance by 60%. That conversation happened because I'd built an environment where people felt safe advocating for themselves, where they knew their worth would be recognized instead of punished. That's the thing Christopher never understood. Treating people well isn't just the right thing to do. It's good business. I learned something from all of this. Power dynamics at work are strange. When you're essential, you're valuable. But the second your competence makes you look less essential, because the system you built runs fine without constant hand-holding, suddenly you're expendable. The trick is knowing your worth independent of whether your boss ever recognizes it. I built something valuable. I knew its value. And when someone tried to exploit that while diminishing what I'd contributed, I had the knowledge and the leverage to stand up for myself. Not everyone has that leverage. Not every story ends in settlements and job offers. Sometimes standing up means walking away with nothing but your dignity intact. But here's what I want people to take from this. Knowing your worth isn't arrogance. Protecting your work isn't petty. Refusing to be exploited isn't selfish. Christopher made a business decision on incomplete information and arrogant assumptions. He assumed the company owned everything I'd built. He assumed I'd swallow whatever terms he dictated because I needed the paycheck. He assumed wrong. That moment hovering over the delete button wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. You teach people how to treat you, and sometimes when words fail, actions speak louder. I don't regret any of it. Not the resignation, not the license revocation, not the negotiation. Because at the end of the day, I didn't destroy the company. I saved it. Again. Just in a different way. I forced them to reckon with the truth that people aren't disposable resources, that expertise carries real value, that loyalty runs in both directions. Today, TechBridge Solutions is thriving. We've expanded into 3 new markets, grown our client base by 80%, and been named one of the best places to work in Austin 2 years running. My team has grown from 5 people to 22. Every one of them knows they're valued, not just for their output, but as human beings with lives and needs beyond their productivity numbers. Jennifer got promoted to Senior Infrastructure Manager. She's brilliant, and now she's paid like it. Frank slipped back into retirement, but sits on the board and checks in every quarter. We grab coffee once a month and talk about leadership, legacy, and treating people right. Christopher. Last I heard, he's at another company running the same cost-cutting playbook. Some people never learn. As for me, I still work long hours sometimes, still untangle hard problems, still build things that matter. But now I do it with the authority to protect my team the way I wish someone had protected me, so nobody else has to choose between financial survival and professional dignity. The code I sold them? They own it now, fully and legitimately. But I've written new code since, built new systems, kept creating. Always learning, always growing. And this time, every IP agreement is airtight and fair. Every contribution gets recognized. Every person gets respected. That's the real happy ending. Not the money, not the title, not the vindication. It's building something sustainable. Not just technically but culturally. A place where people's work is valued and their humanity is seen. Where nobody ever has to hover a finger over a delete button, wondering if tearing down what they built is the only way left to prove their worth. If this story hit home for you, if you've ever felt undervalued at work, or had to stand your ground in a hard situation, consider subscribing. Sharing stories like this helps other people realize they're not navigating these things alone. Your support helps this channel keep growing and keep stories like this one coming. Thanks for listening to mine.